guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia and I'm coming to you from Germany. Today is Sunday, the 18th of February 2018. I hope all of you who celebrated had a lovely Valentine's Day. You guys had a lovely week. If you're watching this for the very first time, welcome to this podcast. I really hope that you'll enjoy it. And if you're coming back, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you guys. So this is a knitting podcast, and today I'll talk about some knit along things first, followed by finished objects, works in progress, a tiny acquisition, and I also have a yarn review once again, one of my commercial sock yarn reviews, and possibly some chatter at the end. We'll see how it goes. So first of all, we have a Ravelry group which is called the Happy Knitting Podcast group. And that's where you can find all the info, all the knit-alongs, fun threads if you want to do a swap. So it's always worthwhile to check that group. I would love for you guys to join. And also, if you want to be kept up to date with what I'm up to, the easiest way to do that is via Instagram, where you can also find me as the Happy Knitting Podcast. And if I disappear, or if a podcast is delayed or something like that, that's usually where I will talk about that. So yeah, in our Ravelry group at the moment we have a knit-along running, which is the Hearts and Heels knit-along. And that is a knit-along to knit Valentine's Day themed socks. So it officially started on February 14th, but I said it's okay if you want to cast on early. It runs until March 14th, so exactly 1 month. And the goal is to knit a pair of Valentine's socks, so you can either knit a Valentine's themed yarn, you can knit a love or Valentine's themed pattern, or just anything with like pinks and reds that screams Valentine to you. Thank you for all of you guys who already joined in. It was so much fun on Valentine's Day on Wednesday. I was working, of course, but my phone kept giving me notifications and showing me pictures of you guys where you had tagged me in your cast-ons, and it made me really happy. That was really fun. And the prize for that, I decided, is going to be a bag from Lamy Project Bags. I didn't bring it out, but this is mine. This is a drawstring version, and the one that I'm going to give away is a zip bag, and I think it's going to be perfect. So if you haven't joined in yet and you want to bang out a pair of socks kind of quickly, feel free to still join in or just join in the chatter thread and just have some fun with us. I think that would be really great. So yeah, I'll show you my Valentine socks later. But first of all, finished objects. There's an elephant in the room and I'm wearing it. Okay, that sounded weird. I finished my sweater. This is the third sweater that I've finished this year, which is a lot for me. Apparently I'm in sweater fever. Yeah, that elephant comment just completely threw me now. This is the Branches and Buds sweater, which is, as you can see, a sweater with a colorwork yoke. It is knit top down. I think it uses like a sport to decay weight yarn, but I actually used a lace to fingering weight yarn, which is Holzgarn Super Soft, which is a Danish yarn. I used the colorway Sweet Pea and Almond, and I always have to laugh there because I can't pronounce that stupid word. And I used just over 3 skeins of yarn for this, which is great. 3 50-gram balls, so this is super light, and it is done. I am so excited about this. I did modify it quite a bit because I had a different gauge and because I tend to modify everything. That's probably the biggest reason. But anyways, last week I think I had bound off the body and started the first sleeve, and then I actually knit 1.5 sleeves in one night because I just really wanted to finish it. And ever since then I'm so happy with it. I've been wearing this all the time. I love all of my hand knit sweaters, but this one, it is exactly what I wanted it to be. It is very light, it is very airy, it is like a lot of my sweaters, I get quite hot, so I don't wear them that much, but this I've been wearing around the house when I'm working from home, and it's just absolutely perfect. Also the fit is quite loose, it is very comfortable. I think it actually fits really well around the yoke as well. I was a little bit worried about that, but it just works really well. I did 3/4 length sleeves, and let's see, It's kind of short, but again, that makes it really, really wearable. And I just love this thing. I also love that it's 100% wool yarn, so you can just hang it outside and it'll be all fresh and new again. And yeah, I just live in this thing. Regarding the softness of the yarn, obviously washing it changed it a lot, but it is still not super soft. So if you're sensitive, keep that in mind. I don't mind. I'm only wearing like a really thin tank top underneath it, and it's not bothering me too much, but it might bother someone else. So yeah, I am really, really, really excited about this sweater. I knitted on 3.5mm needles, and you can see that the gauge is quite loose. I'm not sure if you can tell on the screen, but on the color work and just in general, the gauge is okay, but I think it's borderline to being too loose. So I cast on a new sweater with the same yarn and I went down a needle size. But I'm thinking I might actually knit a couple more sweaters in this gauge as well, because like I said, it is so wearable, it is so light. So yeah, I am so happy with this. And I think Ellie of Skandia is doing sort of like a knit along at the moment where you modify yarn weights. So you knit a pattern with different yarn to experiment with texture and the fabric and all that. And that just worked perfectly for my sweater. So that's really, really, really exciting. And how many more times can I say exciting? Yeah, I'm done with this. Very, very happy. I love just seeing it on the camera as well. I love wearing it too. Okay, focus. Enough about the sweater. Moving on to works in progress. Once again, this seems to be a new thing where I don't manage to hit on all of my works in progress, and it's kind of annoying me, but yeah, knitting time is kind of limited lately. I'm really noticing it at the moment because I'm working a lot. And then it's like, whoa, another week is already over. What did I actually work on? But I did do quite a few things. So first of all, of course, I cast on my Valentine's socks. And they have to live in a pink bag because that just makes sense. The yarn that I'm using is from Nicole C. Mendes, who is a German indie dyer for self-strapping yarn. I realize that sometimes I completely forget to show you the cards, and then that would be really, really hard to find. So that's the card. It's called Love is in the Air. It's a Valentine's Day colorway from last year. And here I am. So this is a self-strapping colorway. In the beginning, I actually wasn't really sure how I felt about it because some of the stripes are not that pronounced. But now I really, really like it. I think it's a really sort of unusual color combination. So I really quite like it. So as you can see, it's a plain vanilla sock in stockinette. And for some reason, I'm not really sure how that reasoning went, but I decided to just knit a tube and then put in an afterthought heel. So I was going to do an afterthought heel in the same yarn, this yarn, so to get the sort of stripy effect. And then yesterday when I had cut the yarn, I was like, whoa, hang on. I actually did, usually I do a center pull ball on my ball winder and then I can just pull from the middle. But obviously I did this, so I can't do that. So I ended up putting in a contrasting heel, which I actually really like. This is just the perfect purple to kind of spice it up. It is left over from some Regia Perfect yarn that I used to knit my sister a pair of like orange and purple colored yarn socks. So this is super sturdy, and I think in the grand scheme of the sock, it actually is really fun. It kind of makes the other colors look even more like pastel colors, and yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. So I think I just have a couple of stripes to go and then I can start the toe and then knit the second sock. I haven't worked on this all too much. I worked it on Valentine's Day and it just flew by, and then I kind of put it down and picked it up only yesterday, but really happy with it. I'm using 2.25mm US size 1 needles. I'm using ChiaoGu's. These are my favorite at the moment, the ChiaoGu red lace. I just love them. And I'm doing 64 stitches as they will be for me. So those are my Valentine socks and they look really fun on the screen as well. What else? I also worked on what I call my artsy fartsy socks. And these are the ones that I showed you last week, and I wasn't really sure. I think they're kind of ugly, but some people really like them, and my friend Grace, most importantly, really likes them, so I'm knitting them for her. And I have finished the first sock. It is super duper crazy pooling. But I'm done with the first one. This is what it looks like. You can see, I actually can't really see, but I knit a vanilla sock, all stockinette over 64 stitches, and I just knit a tube and then put in an afterthought heel because I knit these at the movies, so I think I was about down here after the movies and then just decided to cut in the heel. And yeah, it's just a pretty plain vanilla sock, except for the colors being absolutely insane. It's really funny, like I showed this to you guys last week. I really like how the colors look in the cake. I really like how they look in the toe and in the heel, where it's a smaller circumference. But then this pooling is just too much even for me. But the fun thing is that we like different things. So I'm really excited to be knitting these for my friend. And I'm sure she's excited about getting them as well. So I knit the cuff sort of shorter this time because that's what she wanted. And I have since cast on the second sock, but I'm not very far. I took these on a business trip with me on Friday, and this is all I managed to knit during the entire trip because I was mostly working on the train. And then I had to stop in the middle of the row because I was kind of close with getting out of the train on time. So yeah, that's that. The yarn is a German indie dyed yarn. I should tell you that. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? It's by this company. It's called Ätherische Öle und Mehr. It's kind of hard to find on the interwebs. They don't have colorway names. This is their 75-25 wool nylon blend. And I picked this up at the Yarn Festival in Vaterstetten, which is near Munich, which is where I go once a year. So that is that. And that's it in terms of sock whips. Moving on to some more exciting whips. First of all, I wasn't really sure if I was going to show you this, but I showed this really quickly. You guys are probably all so sick of hearing about this. I'm still plugging away on my drifter shawl, and the reason why this is not getting finished is because I never pick it up. But I did pick it up last night, and I'm determined to finally finish this thing just so it's done. And because I really like it, I just don't really feel like working on it. So this is the Drifter Shawl by Tammy Gore. It is a 2 or 3 colored shawl. I'm knitting the 2 color version. And I'm not going to go into detail because I haven't done that much since last week. But this is what it looks like. It is actually getting quite big now. And you can see it's just 2 colors with a really fun sort of texture stitch. It is really beautiful. I'm not sure why I don't like working on it. I think it's kind of too repetitive for me. But I do really, really like the finished outcome. So it's kind of shaped similarly to the Find Your Fate shawl. And yeah, I do quite like it. And I have a big chunk of garter stitch ahead. So I'm hoping to just speed through that. And then I have one more textured section and then I'm almost done. So that is that. Yeah, it looks so nice on the screen. Maybe I should podcast more often and then I'll fall back in love with my projects. And now I'm making a mess. But one last time, you guys are so sick of this. The yarns that I'm using are both indie dyed yarns from German dyers that I haven't tried before. They're both singles yarn. This one is from Tiki Garne in their pink exclamation mark colorway. This one is from Garn Stories in their pink Pegasus colorway, and I love both of these so much. And I love singles yarns, so that's perfect. So yeah, that is my drifter. And I went down a needle size for this. It's supposed to be knit on 4mm needles, but I rather used a 3.5. And I'm really loving this bag still. It is like a yarn bucket, and I'm really enjoying it. And last but not least, my most exciting work in progress for sure. Hang on, is that working? Yeah, should be fine. I cast on a new sweater because I'm insane. And I need bigger sweater bags. So if you have a, within Europe, within the EU I should say, recommendations for somewhere I can get a really big sweater bag, like a big sweater tote or just a sweater bucket where I can put lots of color work yarns, please send me some recommendations because I'm really interested in that. But I have started a new colorwork sweater number 4 for 2018, and I'm ridiculously excited about this, you guys. This is one that I was always thinking would be sort of above my skill level, and then I just cast it on. And this is, of course, the Damiaka Lopa sweater, or cardigan by Pineguri. It's also called the flea cardigan because it has these little flea stitches. And I am modifying the crap out of this. First of all, the yarn. I'm once again using Holst Super Soft, which I talked about before and I talk about all the time. I don't have all the colors memorized that I used, but I did use the leftovers from this sweater, so this kind of matches. And it is a cardigan. It is a stick cardigan, and I didn't want to knit a cardigan and I didn't want to stick. So I have turned this thing into a sweater. You would think that's not that complicated, but it turned out it was a little bit more complicated than I thought because there are short rows involved, and then I had to move where I changed the colors because I didn't want to change the colors in the front of the sweater. And then, of course, you have to recalculate where you do your short rows and where you do your increases because it all needs to be in the right place. But it kind of worked. So obviously I don't have like a stick that I'm knitting as well. And I think it actually worked out really, really well until I split for the sleeves. Again, I worked it out really well, but I was so tired and I should have just left it. And then I miscounted, so now it's not 100% symmetric, but lots of people have assured me it's fine. No one will know but me. And you guys, but you guys won't be able to tell either, so it should be fine. So that's a lot of talking. Let me show you where I'm at. So it is a top-down cardigan slash sweater, and as you can see, I have knit all of the colorwork yoke, and I have now split for the sleeves, and I'm about like maybe 2 inches into the body, and once again I'm dropping stitches. With this sweater, I've never dropped that many stitches in my life. They just keep on falling off. I'm not sure what's up with that. But anyways, isn't it really pretty? I'm talking so much about it, I'm not actually even showing you. But this is the colorwork yoke, and I just love these colors. I just kind of pulled out all the colors that I had and just went with it, had a lot of fun. And that's the thing, I love all colors, so I don't really care. And yeah, I am so happy with it. I've also woven in all of my ends, which makes me really proud. I'm not saying I wove them in well or pretty, but that it works. And now I can just zoom through the stockinette because I have decided to make a flea cardigan without the fleas. So regularly this sweater has tiny bits of color work all over the body as well, but I didn't want to do that for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was getting too busy for me. Secondly, I didn't want to mess with the gauge, and thirdly, I don't enjoy knitting fleas. So I'm just doing the body in this dark navy color. It's called indigo, but it's kind of a little bit darker than indigo, I think. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing any more color work at the hem, or if I'm just going to do the ribbing in the yellow, or maybe I'll do something completely different. I have no idea really. I'm planning to modify it as well. Yeah. But I'm so happy about this. I'm kind of scared because I'm modifying the crap out of it. I'm also kind of throwing in decreases now where it feels right because I want to get a certain fit. I don't want to do the shaping that the pattern suggests because of course I think I know everything so much better. So I'm just decreasing and changing and doing things and hoping for the best, and it's been a while since I've modified something so much. But I'm feeling good about it. I tried it on last night. It fits really well. And I think with blocking, this should be fine. So yeah, I am very happy about this. My goal was to knit at least one colorwork sweater in 2018, and this is colorwork sweater number 3. And we only have February, so I am definitely on track for that. Yeah, very, very happy about this. And I'm using some, oh yeah, you can see my floats here. And I'm using some new to me needles. I'm using Knit Pro Zings, which I'll talk about more later, but they're working really well. I'm using a 3mm, what is that, US size 3? Yeah, I think it should be US size 3 as well. But don't quote me on that. I'll talk more about these later. I used these for the color work as well as the stockinette part. Although in the future I might consider going down a needle size for color work, I'm not sure yet. But it worked out well and I'm kind of getting gauge. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So that is my sweater. And that's it for my whips. Actually, it is not. Sorry, all over the place once again. I have been working on my granny strap blanket. Would you believe it, you guys? So the granny strap blanket, everyone is doing it. I'm also doing it. I just haven't been working on it. I am loosely basing this on the pattern by Attic 24. And I'm just using leftovers. And I've made quite a bit of progress since I last showed this to you guys. So can you see the macaroon, Halloween macaroon stitch mark here? I think this is where I was last time I showed this to you. And yeah, I'm just really happy with it. It is crazy colorful. You might remember when I started it, I was using all like pastel colors, and ever since then I've just abandoned the idea and I'm just having fun with it and using whatever yarns I want. I put in a couple of Christmas yarns up here, which made me really excited. And yeah, I'm just going crazy and I love it. And a lot of times I don't really get why people are so obsessed with this, but in the last week or so, this has been so soothing to work on. Like whenever I was sick of doing complicated color work, this is so relaxing and I do really, really, really like it. Also, the blanket that I already have, the Granny Square, and we use it all the time. It's our favorite blanket, so to have another one will be great. So yeah, that is my blanket, and I'm just sort of going like this. So yeah, that is my last work in progress to show you. I have another pair of socks on the needles, but I haven't worked on them, so there's no point in showing that to you. So I'll be back with my yarn review in a second. So I'm back and I'm about to do another commercial sock yarn review. If you haven't watched this before, I'll keep repeating what I always say with this. No one asked me, besides you viewers, to do these reviews, so I'm not sponsored by any yarn companies. And as usual, I'm only telling you my personal experience with the yarn that I'm talking about. You might have different experiences, feel free to share them, but don't take my word as the truth or the 100% right way to look at things. This is just the sort of things that I noticed with the yarns that I'm reviewing. So the yarn that I'm reviewing today is this one. It is another German. Is it German? I'm pretty sure it's German sock yarn. No, it's made in Italy, but it's for a Swiss company. I'm so confused now. I shouldn't have said anything. Anyways, let's just pretend I didn't say that. It is for this company, which is Lang Yarns, and I'm reviewing their sock yarn, which is called Super Socks with double legs. So this is what it looks like in the cake, or in the ball, or in the, what's this called? I guess it's a ball. It comes in 100 gram skeins, balls, cakes, whatever. If you're interested, this is colorway number 9010071. And this is a superwash yarn. It is 75% virgin wool, 25% nylon, and they come in sort of like strap-in colorways. They also have self-patterning colorways, and I'm pretty sure they have solid colorways as well. When you buy it in this form, it feels really, really soft. It is definitely much softer than a Regia or an Opal or any of the other typical commercial sock yarns feel. So softness-wise, this is definitely very soft. Maybe not as soft as the Felici, since Knit Picks Felici is a merino yarn and this isn't. But it is very soft, and it does come in very fun colors, which is why I keep buying it. I've brought out a pair of socks to show you that I've knit for Kai for his, not his last birthday, but the one before that. Not sure if he wants me to out his age on here. He's quite sensitive about that. Anyways, let's talk about yarn instead. This is a pair of socks that I knit out of this yarn for him. I put one on a sock blocker and one is just like this, but there are two. Please don't ask me the colorway number. I do think this colorway is really pretty and really fun. So that's why what drew me to this. But the sad truth behind this is that I'm not very happy with the way this yarn has worn. Again, as usual, Kai is very hard on his socks, so that needs to be taken into consideration. But I gave these to him for his birthday, and it took like less than 3 or 4 weeks, and the pair looked like he had worn it for 2 years. So that's kind of sad, so I don't think he wears them very much anymore. But yeah, first of all, I did like knitting with it. It's the first commercial yarn where I had significant difficulties with gauge. I'm not really sure why, but I was knitting as I always do, but the sock was coming out way too big. It must just be, I don't know, maybe the way this yarn is spun, I don't know. But I ended up going down to the usual 68 stitches that I do for him to a 56 stitch sock, so that's quite a big difference. Not really sure what's going on there, but anyways, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But then when you look at how this is wearing, I am not very happy with this. Every time I do show these socks to you on the bloggers in the reviews, they look much better on camera than I think they really do. But first of all, they're pilly, which is okay after a while, but they, take my word for it, they pilled after one wear. And the colors are running into each other. Like, this used to be a really pretty bright yellow, and now it's sort of like muddy. And it's even worse on the heels. One of the heels has kind of turned almost like green and weird, and yeah, sorry, this is not a very pretty sock to look at anymore. But yeah, it's fuzzy. Why doesn't the fuzziness actually doesn't show up on the camera? That's interesting. But I don't really like it. And another thing that I noticed with these, or Kai complains about with these, is that they stretch out and they don't go back to their original shape as much as other socks do. So maybe next time I do knit this yarn, because I have a couple of skeins in my stash and I do want to use it, I might go down a couple of needle sizes and hope that maybe just a tighter fabric will help. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just not that impressed with how the yarn has worn and knit and washed and all that, which is kind of sad, because like I said, I think they have a really interesting take on colors. They, personally, for my personal taste, I think they have more interesting colorways than Opal does, for example. That's why I kept buying them for a while, because I was going to knit, I bought these for Kai as well, to knit him a pair of socks, but right now I'm not really sure if it makes sense, because again, he will wear through those, and I'm just worried that the white will turn stained super quickly. But they do have fun colorways, so maybe if you don't wear your socks very much, or you don't mind, I know that some people really don't mind, I just do. But if you don't mind, maybe this yarn might be for you. It's definitely soft, so it would be good for gift knitting as well, because you can of course throw it in the washing machine. And I would, if people are sensitive, I think this yarn would be one that might be okay for them, because it's just a little softer, it doesn't feel as woolly. But yeah, overall I'm not super excited about this yarn, which is sad. But yeah, that's just my experience. Again, if you've knit with this, I'd really love to hear your opinion on this. I'm just really interested in this thing. I noticed today when I was pulling out socks for my review that I'm almost out of sock yarns to review, because obviously I only can review the ones that I have in my stash and my sock yarn drawer, in my sock drawer, and that I've actually worn. And since I gift a lot of my commercial socks, yeah, that's quite difficult. So I'm not sure. Would you guys want me to review like other sock yarns from indie dyes as well? Would that be interesting to you guys? Let me know what you think, and if you have suggestions of yarns that I haven't tried yet, I'm always very open to that. I can't promise that I'll buy everything immediately, but do send me some suggestions and I would love to try them. Talking about suggestions, there's a question that I've wanted to ask you guys for a while, besides the sweater bag question. And that is about kits. I really like when I see that, I think it's maybe more of a thing in the US, I'm not quite sure, but like kits for patterns, for sweaters, for shawls, where you can get a kit of a couple of skeins of yarn that match for a certain project. I really like that. I really like that idea, and I really like buying kits. Like I bought, I think, 2 fade kits, not because I wanted to knit a Find Your Fade or So Faded, but because I just like buying yarn in kits, and then there's so many things you can do. Or, of course, you could knit the pattern, and that would also be really fun. So my question to those of you who are in the EU, like me, do you have any suggestions on where to get good kitted pattern and yarn combinations? I'm really interested, but I rarely find kits that interest me, and I'm sure there are lots of dyers and companies out there that do kits. So I would be really interested if you have a couple of suggestions just to check out. I know that Wollmeise are doing kits at the moment and they are looking really fun. I'm trying very hard not to buy them. But yeah, I would just really like to hear your suggestions, and yeah, that would be great. So thank you already in advance for that. Maybe I'll just open a thread in Ravelry. That might be the easiest way, but you can also, of course, just send me a YouTube comment or a message on Ravelry. You can find me on Ravelry as Wupfi, I should say, which is WUEPFI. So that is it for my yarn review. And in terms of acquisitions, I have one acquisition, but it's not very exciting. So I bought myself some Zing needles. If you don't know these needles, they're by Knit Pro. They are metal needles. They're known for their different colored needles, and they're quite popular. I have used these. I have a set of DPNs for socks, and they're quite nice. But as you know, I knit most of my socks on Magic Loop. Well, to this day, pretty much exclusively. And I had once ordered a sock circular, I think a 2.25 millimeter from Zing, and I hated the join, so I actually sent them back because it didn't work at all. But I have been kind of looking into more needles for sweaters, and so I decided to give the Zings another try. So I ordered, this is the 3.25 millimeter needle, and I also ordered the 3 millimeter, which I am using for my colorwork sweater. And you guys, I really like them. I think these might be my new go-to needles for sweaters. So I'm actually tempted and almost planning to buy myself a whole set of these very soon. And when I say set, I don't want to get the interchangeables. I know they have an interchangeable set, and I know everyone always talks about interchangeable needles, but I don't like them. I like knitting on fixed circulars because, first of all, you don't have to worry about the join. I know that there are some interchangeable sets that are really good and they don't have a bad join, but you never know. The only set that I do own is also by Knit Pro. It's the Novas, but I never use them unless I really have to. I also don't like fiddling around with my needles. I don't like screwing them together and taking them apart and then having a huge case of needle ends and cables lying around. I just don't see the point, to be honest. That's just, again, my opinion. I do get why people use interchangeables, but it just doesn't appeal to me. So what I do is I have like 2 or 3 fixed circulars, and I use them all the time. So what I'm thinking about doing is just getting a couple of Zings, or I'm leaning towards the Zings at the moment, and getting them in like a lot of different sizes, just like an 80 or 100 centimeter length, and then I can knit all the sweaters I want. I have all the needle sizes available, but I don't have to bother with screwing on, screwing off, having joins, and so on. Also, these are a great price point. I got them for like $5 including shipping on Amazon, so it's not really a huge splurge either. So I think that's going to happen sometime soon, because especially for colorwork, it's nice to have also, like, you know, maybe a 3.25 and a 3.5 and a 3.75, so you can just switch around very easily. And I would like to have them on hand, and I do really, really enjoy these. Like I said, for socks, I don't really like them. They're also a little bit too blunt for me, but with Magic Loop, I am very sensitive about the join, whereas with garments and shawls and stuff, I don't really care that much. So yeah, I only have one needle to show you guys, but I'm very excited about these. As a side note, I bought the 3.25 and the 3.5, and they're almost the same color. Like, you can almost not distinguish between them. Like, what were they thinking? I don't really get that. But oh well, as long as the needles are fine, I don't really care. So that is it, you guys, for acquisitions. And that's it for the yarny content of this show. I'm just going to ramble on about everything and nothing. So if you're only here for the knitting, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next week. And if you're sticking around, this is the point where I should quickly think about what I'm going to talk about, because right now there's nothing up here. But yeah, I guess I'll just talk about what's been going on really, really quickly. I always think this part is really boring for you guys, but then apparently you guys really like it, so there you go. You're welcome for me rambling on about nothing. Um, sorry, I feel like I'm more loopy today than I usually am, which is saying a lot. And I've only had one coffee. Maybe that's part of the problem. If you haven't noticed, I attribute all of my problems to coffee. Do you guys drink coffee? I am a coffee addict. At the moment, I'm averaging like 3 cups a day, which I think is fine. It's really funny. I come from a very coffee obsessed family. My mom is so addicted to coffee as well, so she got me into this whole mess. And so are my grandparents. So my grandpa, he's really cute. He spends a lot of time researching things on his computer, and he sends out these emails, and he sent out an email with a study that showed that 4 to 5 coffees a day is absolutely fine health-wise. So having studied a scientific subject and all that, I know that that might not necessarily be the truth just because one article says so. But ever since reading that article, my entire family is convinced that we can just have as much coffee as we want. So as long as you're up to a maximum of 5 cups, that's fine. And no, I probably shouldn't start a whole coffee or non-coffee discussion here, but I'm just saying I love coffee. I also don't mind tea. Like, I know lots of podcasters are obsessed with tea. I'm not obsessed with tea. I like tea because it's something I can drink. It's usually hot. It tastes okay. It tastes always like water, but it's okay. And there are some teas that I really like. So, for example, a friend of mine sent me some David's tea, I think last year, and I've been hoarding them, and now I've used them all up, which is really sad. So like when I'm working and I have to drink something between coffees, I do like tea, but I'm not really obsessed with tea. That's totally something you wanted to know, wasn't it? Oh yeah. Again, what am I thinking today? So that's my ramble about coffee. What's been happening? I'm still working a ton. I'm really, really enjoying it. I love my job. But I'm also at the point now where it's getting quite exhausting because I've done I think 6 weeks now. And of course, in the beginning, you power through and you're doing a lot. And it's still new, so it's a little bit more exhausting than if you've done it for a while. And this week, I really noticed just getting very tired. But all in all, everything is going really well. I went on a day trip to Nuremberg on Friday. And that makes me smile because that's very close to where I actually come from. And I love Nuremberg. It's a beautiful city. Sadly, I didn't see any of it because I was working. But just being back there and hearing the Franconian dialect, which is also what I'm used to, that was really fun. Sadly, I discovered that I can't work on trains. That's really sad. Like, on the way there, I was going backwards in the way I was sitting because I had a reserved seat, and I was working on my laptop and I got quite sick. And I thought, okay, it's just because I'm going backwards, but then on the way home, I was going forward and working on my laptop, and again, I got quite sick. So yeah, that's quite sad. It's kind of the perfect excuse because then I don't need to work, obviously. And I can knit, so that's at least something, but it's still quite unuseful when you're traveling a lot. But yeah, that was fun, meeting some colleagues from Nuremberg as well, and yeah, that was a fun day, although it was a quite long day as well. Next week again, I'm going to be in the Frankfurt area for probably 2 days, so those things really cut into my knitting time. I really love, I don't mind traveling for work. It's quite fun to get out and see things and do things, and since I'm working a lot out of my home office as well, it's fun to actually be in the offices with my colleagues, whom I like very much. But it is significantly cutting into my knitting time, and also it leaves me so tired. I think that's the most exhausting part for me at the moment. Anyways, you totally needed to know that. I'm hoping that one day I'll actually manage to do a work trip and also somehow see a city and maybe go yarn shopping, but that's not happening at the moment. In other news, we didn't do anything for Valentine's Day because it's really weird. We do these sort of like things with holidays quite a lot where we don't see the point in paying extra to do a Valentine's dinner or have a New Year's Eve fancy dinner, so we skip it and then celebrate a couple days later and feel so good because we saved a lot of money. And also we didn't have time on Wednesday, So yesterday, which was Saturday, Kai actually took me out on a really, really nice date. We went to a French restaurant in Munich called Maison Mazar. If you're in Munich, do go there because it's the most amazing restaurant I've ever been to. The food was delicious. It was amazing. We had like a 3-course menu with fish soup because I love fish soup and I've never found it anywhere in Germany. So yeah, that was incredible. Also, we have so much snow. It's really, really pretty. I know lots of people are so sick of snow, but I really like it. Yesterday it snowed all day long, and then we took the bus for our date and back, and we were walking, and everything, like all the trees, everything is just covered in thick snow, and the entire city was kind of, well, we used to snow, but still, you know, everything is kind of slowed down, and there's snow on the streets, and it's just, I really, really like it. So that was really nice. We also, yesterday I met up with some really old friends of mine who were visiting from Berlin. So yeah, I've been doing quite a lot, although I'm also fighting off a cold. So I'm not sure if I'm pushing through or if I'm just making myself sicker in the long run. But yeah, besides that, the funniest thing always to realize how busy I am is if I don't actually acquire any yarn because I just haven't had time. So that's definitely happened this week. Next weekend I'm going to a yarn festival, which I'm really excited about. It's the Kreativmesse, which is in the MOC in Munich. So if you're in the area and you're going and you do see me, please say hello. I would really like that. Oh, now Siri is talking to me. That is weird. I got an iPhone for a while and I still can't use it. And why did it just turn on? Anyways, if you do see me at that show, please do say hello. I'm most likely going to be going on Saturday, and then I will try to record on Sunday and hopefully show you some acquisitions. And I think now I'm pretty much all rambled out. So thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. I really appreciate all of you guys. I also really appreciate the comments that I get on the videos. Sometimes I manage to respond, sometimes I just click the heart button, but I do really, really appreciate that, so thank you all. So yeah, I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and week. I look forward to seeing you guys on Ravelry, maybe seeing your projects for the Hearts and Heels knit along, and yeah, I always love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much for watching this crazy podcast today. Have a great week. Happy knitting. Bye.